Hello, welcome to my assignment number 1. I wrote like a 6-page paper and it was way too long, so I'm going to try to make this as speedy as possible in a video. I'm just going to go through my 4 dimensions of identity, and I'm going to break them up into separate videos because the 5-minute one was not sending. I've done this like 4 times. So for my first dimension of identity that defines me, I chose race and ethnicity and culture, but not quite for the reason you might think. I kind of find it challenging to connect deeply with any of those because I'm white and I'm middle class and I grew up in like a pretty ideal family life. So when asked to talk about my culture and my race and ethnicity, it's like I don't resonate very deeply with it because it's like, like white culture, we kind of stole a lot from other cultures, and I don't really like connect super, I'm not super proud of it, per se. It's brought me many advantages, but it has also made it like be very difficult for me to like fully understand the richness of identity that's tied to racial or cultural experiences. So, for the most part, I can go through the world and navigate society with limited to no barriers because of the color of my skin and my socioeconomic status, which is like not the case for a lot of children I work with. And I've done my best to educate myself and on different cultures and races and ethnicities and religion, but there's only how much understanding that I can glean from books or conversations that I have. I'll never really truly experience discrimination because of the color of my skin, or violence because of the color of my skin, or racism because of the color of my skin. So this kind of white privilege is something that has shaped my identity, because it's made me look at things a little bit differently, as in, I don't know a lot. And that's just because I have not had some of the experiences that someone of a different race would have, or someone with a different color of skin might have. So it has shaped who I am in the way that it has made me try my darndest to be more aware of what the heck is going on in the world that is usually at the hands of white people. So that's the first one. Okay, so my second one, I'm gonna go really quick, is gender. It's not really my gender, but the way in which I am perceived as a woman. Since I was a child, I've always been perceived as a tomboy or a more masculine woman. I would wear like boys' clothes as a child and play sports and wrestle with the boys in my neighborhood, as well as always be the first one to kind of speak my mind, which like I don't believe that these are masculine traits, but apparently society does. And being what people kind of consider a tomboy has like kind of deeply shaped my identity. Especially when it comes to kind of challenging societal expectations of gender norms. Although there and many positives to rejecting like the traditional forms of femininity, which is placed on women by, you guessed it, men, usually. It has also come with like many challenges and hardships surrounding like social standards and perceptions of me. From a young age, my parents like never told me I had to dress or act a certain way that like matched my gender, or I should only wear dresses, that girls need to be like meek and docile. They were like very, very supportive. And being able to do that from a young age had really like nurtured a deep understanding of my authentic self. And it taught me that like my personal comfort and interests kind of trump ever seeking societal approval and acceptance. Like, it's great. That's a great part of my identity. But on the other hand, this kind of freedom of expression has also led to some super negative experiences, especially kind of in my adult life. Many times I've had people, usually old white dudes from my rural hometown tell me I need to dress more like a girl or start wearing clothes that fit me, which is code to wear, you know, tight clothes that show off your female form, which is crazy, instead of clothes that you feel comfortable in. And I've experienced like a lot of policing on femininity, being pressured to conform to the traditional standards of behavior and beauty through kind of scrutiny of my mannerisms, my personality, my clothes, the way I stand, the way I talk, the way I sit. Like, it's kind of wild. And going deeper than that, it's like presenting in a more kind of like masculine way has influenced even like how workplaces or like potential friends or partners have like perceived me and have perceived like my competency and like my likability. You know, I've been told on numerous occasions that before I even kind of like opened my mouth to introduce myself, that individuals kind of believed by my appearance I might be aggressive or intimidating. So, you know, portraying in a more masculine society, I'm masculine in quotes, by society standards kind of way for a woman has definitely shaped my identity for the good and the bad. It's given me, you know, freedom, but it's also put me in some strange situations that has also kind of shaped who I am and how I look at the world. Okay, I am so sorry how long this is. Third one, gonna try to go really quick. So my third one is my physical appearance, but specifically like my tattoos and my piercings. And it has shaped my identity like deeply, for the positive and for the negative. For the positive, it's like I've always kind of struggled with some self-confidence issues with the way my body looks. But when I started getting tattoos, which none of them have really like any meaning besides a few that are like for films I'm obsessed with, but like it has boosted my confidence. Like, it's nobody's business. Like, even on days where I look in the mirror and I don't like what I see with my stomach or my face or my hair, it's like I look at that and I go, okay, no, I feel confident with those. Like, these tattoos make me feel more me and more confident in my skin and more comfortable in my skin. And, you know, it also has brought me into a community of people, of wonderful people, music and tattoo artists and piercers, and they're all fabulous, and that's definitely shaped who I am, like that culture. But on the negative side, I've definitely had a lot of bad experiences where people perceive me as being like unprofessional or scary or intimidating or like angry or like whatever, just because I have like tattoos or piercings or like a punk and, you know, blah blah blah, or like I'm in a biker gang or something, which is crazy. But so I've definitely had to kind of like prove myself. I sometimes I feel like I'm starting from a peg down, because it's like, oh, she looks like this and she has all these tattoos and piercings, like she has to prove her professionalism, she has to like, you know, prove a little bit more sometimes, which is like, I mean, it shaped my identity because I take pride in how my professionalism, the jobs that I have, my working in my daycare, working at my group home, always, you know, having really, really positive relationships with my professors and my boss and my family and my friends and strangers on the street. And, you know, so that kind of perception that it makes me like a scary person, or that it puts me on a weird level that I have to prove myself, it definitely has motivated me and shaped my identity in a way to work hard and to show that like this is just part of who I am, and it doesn't make me scary and crazy because I have tattoos and piercings. I'm just a normal girl wanting to feel comfortable in her skin. So, okay, home stretch, number 4. So number 4, probably the biggest thing that shapes my identity, we're about to get real personal here, we're about to know each other real well, is the fact I'm in recovery. I've been sober since 2019, and that is something that has completely shaped who I am and my identity and my field and what I want to do with my life, and et cetera, but mostly the person that I am today. It, as horrible and dark as it was. I learned so much about the world, about myself, about other people, about how people function. Like, I have seen things that I don't wish upon my worst enemy, but that definitely shapes who I am and has made me have this deep rooted sense of empathy that maybe I had before, but never as deep as it is now. I experienced the kindest people in the world and the worst people ever when I was going through that time. And it has just taught me that, you cannot judge a book by its cover. You cannot. You need to treat people with kindness. You don't know what these people are going through, because nobody knew, really. I was in school. I had a job. Like, my parents didn't know. My coworkers didn't know. My friends didn't know, like, what I was going through behind the scenes. And I think when you are kind of looking death in the face, it really does change who you are. And as horrible as those experiences were, I just learned so much. And now it has informed almost every decision I make in my life. I am so thankful for what I went through, because it is now who I am now is the person I've always wanted to be. And what I want to do with kids that are going through the same thing that I went through and have had substance abuse issues, or a family that are going through that. Like, I would not have a purpose if I didn't go through that. So that is part of my identity, that it sometimes is stigmatized often. My mom always says, don't tell people that, don't tell your professors that, don't tell anybody about that. But it is who I am, and it'll always be a part of who I am. And I will tell my children, I will tell my partners, because I'm not going to hide it. I will tell my professors, I will tell my workplace. That's probably one of the reasons why I got the job at the group home or my practicum. Like, I spoke about that very openly, and they took that in, so earnestly, and it was wonderful. I believe now I can have experiences with children where, when I was getting help for my substance abuse issues, I was talking to people that, they had never gone through it, which, like, I'm happy they didn't, but it was kind of cold and they couldn't quite understand what I had been through. But if a child says to me, that might be going through drug addiction, and they say, you don't even know, I can go, hey man, but I do. I'm not going to tell you the details, but I do know. And I can use that to help people and really, and dictate what I want to write my thesis about and where I want to be in my profession. So that's probably the biggest part of my identity. So sorry, that was a long-winded one, but okay. Okay, so I'm on to question 2. I think I've already really touched on how all of those things in my identity influence the way I experience the world. But I will briefly choose 2 of the identities and talk about how they're going to inform and influence, my research and how I want to proceed in this field. But the 2 that I'm going to pick is my recovery part of my identity, my recovery journey, and my privilege, my white privilege, my socioeconomic privilege, all that jazz, because both of those things are interconnected. When I was going through recovery, I had the privilege of having enough money to access medications and Suboxones and expensive medications to help me get off of what I was on. And not everybody has that. Most people don't have that option. A lot of people don't have that option, let alone youth in the community that are already going through horrible things, or are at the group homes, or are sleeping rough on the streets and stuff like that. So that my both of those things together, I am so aware of the privilege that I hold to have been able to, with the help of my family, get out of the situation I was in while using substances, and I am just so aware that that is not the case for so many people, so many youth, and I really, really want to work to understand how accessible we can make things in this community, how possibly cheap could we make it, and like anything that we can offer to youth that don't have the supports, family support, financial support that I had when I was getting off of substances. And I am just so passionate, and my research question maybe in my thesis is going to be like, how accessible are these substance abuse resources? Like, how accessible are they? How can a youth go in and do it themselves? Do they need a parent to sign? What if they don't have a parent to sign? Like, that obviously is going to be the focus of my research, and I just am so, as you can probably tell, viciously passionate about it. So yeah, I'm going to really, those two qualities of the privilege that I hold and going through recovery is really going to be at the center of probably everything I do for the rest of my career. It has lit a fire under me to help in any way that I can, if that's through research, if that's through just working in the community, if that's through fighting for more access to Suboxones and or clean needles or safe injection sites, or even just less stigmatization with police or hospitals, or anything when it comes to youth and addiction. Like, I'll do it. I'm gonna do it till the end. So that was the end of my project. I am so sorry it was so long. I apologize. I tried to make it shorter, but I can yap. So have a good night. I'll see you in class.